I'm going to come back now to my focal area. I have my little stools, and some of you chose some really lovely things for this part, even though you hadn't been asked to look for this. So this will be part of your focus for sure, is having these. And what would be helpful, what I should have had there, was a little dot to show me where something ends, so I don't exceed it too much. You don't want to go, I've been a little extravagant with my, and I'll point out where, with my cross-hatching, my cross corners. This is a little too extravagant. That is a little blobby and extravagant. So this is definitely, so you watch that, so you don't, so you have a better, you can go past, but you don't want to go so far past that it's disruptive. And this one, too many ellipses in this room. And always when you're using the card, make sure that you're moving in a direction. Oops, this one bled a little bit. But you have to, you try not to go pass over a line, and let it dry for a minute before you move it. Anything you do by hand now will look really bad. So you've got to keep up. Once you start, you've got to keep using it. Okay, I couldn't quite see what I was doing. I've got a shadow there, so now the rest is... your 0.7 on the inside, and again, but the most important thing to know is that if you come from the outside in, you'll have a better chance of keeping this rounded. Don't let it get pointy. Don't let those outer edges get pointy. In fact, maybe it's even better not to touch them and then just go and do them afterward. Now, this is going to be tricky because I can't see this. I might just do it lightly to start, see what I've got. Okay, it's a little too high, but... okay. These two line up, so it makes sense to do them at the same time. Now, if you can get a really powerful line drawing going, it's much easier to render it if that's where you're headed with the markers. And especially if you have a little bit the hatching in, that's going to help as well, because there's less, you won't overwork. We have some cabinetry back here. Now, this one, I believe it's a little hard to understand what this is. So I think we should outline the whole thing, because that's what outlining is about. Clarifying and giving emphasis. And we don't want to give it emphasis in this case. Oops, wrong thing. But we do want to clarify what it is. And it's cabinetry. So now the inside. It does seem like there are a lot of decisions to make. And if it seems like that to you, well, that's true. It is. There are a lot of decisions to make. And as you go along, you just make them. Keep that light. And even though it's a kind of a summary of what's going on there, when you do your other things over top, you won't even notice that line in the back. And if they're glass, you wouldn't see it anyway. You would see it anyway. And then you have to show the corner. Those are the things that are important to that as a cabinet, that there's a corner, a back corner, and there is depth to it. We can put this corner in, and I think we'll put this we'll put as a solid line, and the edge of the backsplash at the top we'll put in. Okay, so now those two are understandable, and you can put little accent lines on these, but maybe not outline them solidly with your sign pen. And again, they should, they could be done with your card too, to make them more. And then you put that shape on and fill that in with your hatching, and do your hatching with the card. There's another thing there. So we can run this right across. That's fine. And this corner. To separate this from the... That's important. And I think we can separate these two as well, because they're two separate items. And this has an edge of its own here. So many lines in there, it's hard to tell. But now the lines of the wall and the floor, they're incredibly important because they pull the whole thing together. So and the line of the skylight. Oops, I'm having trouble. My camera's right there, so I'm having trouble getting by. I find if you dot it on, rather than try to work with it in a back and forth solid way, apply 2 coats. I'm going to go in and put some of this in there too, so I may only have to work on that part of it. This is sometimes a secret too. If you put more detail somewhere else, a mistake doesn't show up quite so much. So instead of just leaving this like that, I might go in and put a whole lot of detail in there. Just another little way to... Now out here there's our foliage, so it's just, and this should probably be in our thinner pen, but when you fill it in, definitely use your thinnest pen. But you can make little shapes out there and people will understand what they are. So using our thin pen, we've got our thicker pen. And now all I have to clean up in here is just the spaces in between. And this, of course. But try not to panic when something like that happens. Just pull attention somewhere else, and it usually helps. This gable idea was something I think that was unique to this kitchen, so I'm debating whether to, I think we could put the outside in the sign pen. And I'll try it with the light pen. So even if you're getting the message that every line you make is important, then this will have been important to do, because that's what this is all about, the idea that you have to think about all of these things while you're working.